Welcome back to News Check, and in the next 25 minutes we are looking at the US-Africa Second Summit that is currently underway. Our very own President William Ruto is there, and also the Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, but in his capacity from the Africa Union Infrastructure. And a lot of other heads are there, around 49 presidents and heads of government, to discuss matters Africa. And the key issues to be discussed, or are being discussed as we speak, is matters climate change, food security, and also global health. And if you look at these things, Africa is the worst hit when we talk about these things. But if we put it in the Kenyan perspective, yes, indeed, there are there lies a big challenge in terms of food security in the country, and also health. We are looking at the universal coverage. So there are a number of issues that are going to be talked about. And another challenge that as Africa we do have is the security challenge. Right now as we speak, we have boots on the ground. Our very own Kenyan men and women are in the Democratic Republic of Congo to ensure that they fortify the region, because at the end of the day we also need the newest kid in the East African community. That peace will also cascade to peace in the region. Let's look at the Horn of Africa, Somalia, let's look at South Sudan. So the matters peace is also something that is also being mooted and being discussed. But talking about security, the biggest thing has been that US during the G20, they intend to support Africa to have their very own permanent seat at the UN Security Council. As we speak, Kenya is the only African country that is having a non-permanent seat at the Security Council, and this would be something to look forward to. But allow me to introduce my panelists. We had Engineer Crispus Wathimba, and we also have Philemon Kirwa, who is a youth leader. And perhaps to engage you, karibu sana, Philemon.
Asante sana. Thank you very much.
There are a number of issues that are going to be looked at, and you being a youth leader, I'm quite sure there are some of the things that you would love to see actualized. Perhaps you can touch on them.
Thank you very much. On the US and Kenya relations or Africa relationship, one thing I would love to touch is solving the problem of unemployment. If I've read, and in the US, more so in states like Maryland and many states in the US, Dallas, Texas, there is a lot of opportunity when it comes to employment. And in line with what is happening now, I wish the people were there. And I know the Foreign Affairs Minister, the PS for Foreign Affairs, all the ministers are there, and some of the MPs, including the President himself, should discuss on how we are going to export the manpower from Kenya to US. If you see in Maryland alone, there is a shortage of nurses. That's one thing that I feel they should touch on.
And Philemon, on the same, in as much as we would love Kenyans to seek greener pastures, but looking at the situation, and especially for doctors and nurses, we are losing a lot of them to other countries. You think this could help the youth and actualize the Kenya Kwanza plan of to spur growth when we have to export manpower?
When we say we are exporting manpower, we have to do an account, an audit of what we have. We do an account and audit of what we have, then we export the surplus. We are not exporting all of it. We are just doing the surplus. The same way we do with other commodities is the same way we will do with the manpower.
Okay, Engineer, this is the second summit. The first one was held by President Barack Obama when he was president, and I'm quite sure after that, and looking at the influence of China in the African continent and also Russia as well, then America might have seen that we need to fortify our relations with Africa. What does this mean?
Well, Unfortunately, America, our history with the Western world has been where the Western world benefits more from our resources than we benefit from them. And China came in and gave us another kind of relationship where there were not many questions being asked. We were receiving support whenever we would ask for it, though at a very expensive cost to our economies. And now America is coming in maybe to catch up on the areas or the progress we've made with China. So I feel there's a bit of struggle between should we go east or should we remain east or should we go west? And that is a position that maybe many African countries are having a serious challenge in identifying who is their best friend as of now. So America has a lot to do in terms of repositioning itself in terms of its relationship with many African countries, and especially here in Kenya, where for the last 10 years we have seen a lot of development programs coming through, especially in the infrastructure space, from support from China, though at a very expensive cost. What I would hope now America would do is that probably for us as a country, one of the areas we are finding a big challenge is that our huge debt that we have as a country is very expensive. If the American government, through the World Bank and the others, they would be able to buy some of the expensive loans we have with China and give us a bit of room in terms of physical room to repay them in a longer period of lesser interest, then we'll be able to help the Ruto administration in terms of spurring the economic growth that we desire. In addition to that, we have the agreement like the AGOA, where Kenya has some preferential access to sell goods in America. We want that to continue because it's supposed to end, I think, next year. We also had an arrangement that the Trump government and the Uhuru government had started of this free trade agreement between Kenya and America. If that also can be taken a notch higher, we would really be encouraged as a country, because we have the Big Four agenda, which Dr. Ruto is very passionate about. And one of the areas was in the manufacturing. So manufacturing, if we are going to become an African manufacturing hub, we still need a market to sell our products. And America makes the best place to sell our products because they are the highest spenders in terms of manufactured goods from China. So if you are able to bring the expertise of China in terms of manufacturing to Kenya, and then now able to access the American market, then we'll do good for ourselves. In terms of food security, other than the challenges of GMO, we can also establish some good relationship between Kenya and America, where we can be able to access some cereals at affordable rates and be able to sell to our people. And as well as my colleague has said here, America offers a good labor export market, and your fears are true. What we'll have maybe is a possibility of a brain drain. We still have room because we already have so many universities in Kenya that we have set up, so many institutions of learning we have set up. We can continue producing more and more health workers at whatever level. And America still provides a good market for us because as much as we send people there, they send money back here, we're able to train more. Philippines, one of the biggest export has been nurses, and it has not meant that the health sector in the Philippines has suffered. We cannot suffer. Africa still presents this as a continent where young men, the population of the youth is very high, the population is very big, technology absorption is very quick, and therefore we can learn very quick in terms of healthcare services and be able to support the rest of the world, including America itself.
Engineer, you are an infrastructure expert, and looking at China, how it has been able to infiltrate the African continent, maybe what it has been able to do is what America and Russia feel quite uncomfortable with, because of Africa being the second most populous continent. We have a lot, but unfortunately our infrastructure and everything, we had to have China. China is almost in each and every country in the continent, and America has come in to kind of quell that. Do we run the risk of being unable to get the yoke of Chinese loans and other people's loans as we try also to, because we have to be in sync with the West? 49 presidents and heads of state is not a small number.
Well, you see, one of the things that we need to appreciate that we have learned from the China-Africa relation is that you can realize economic growth within a very short time.
Yes.
As opposed to when we were very close to America and Britain. And it will take forever to even realize a development project like a dam or a road. Today, if China tells you, we'll give you $2 billion to do a road, within 1 year you'll have the road. We have seen the express highway. We have seen the various bypasses we have done within the last 10 years. It was just a issue of a conversation, signing papers, and the next day on the ground and the project is realized. That is also very good because we are able to get the benefits of that project sooner than later, as opposed to when we were with Americans and you take even 3 years to realize a project on the ground. By the time an administration is finishing its first term, you're just still talking, you're still working on paperwork. So at this point when America is coming on board, we are coming to tell them, you come on board, but these are our terms and conditions. If you are going to support us, these are the conditions we are ready to play with. And we want this project to be realized as soon as possible. The other thing also, the technological transfer, the knowledge transfer from China to Africa has been immense. A lot of young engineers have gone to China, have studied. Some of them have come to Africa, been part of this infrastructure project. So the Americans are not coming to tell us, to teach us. Already we know how to do an express highway. We know how to do a dam. We know how to do a power line. We know how to do a bath in the port. So all those things right now we know. And therefore it's just their money we want. The other space that maybe we will need their support is that you've seen last week we were discussing about the tech, the use of technology in Kenya. That's a space where now Kenya really needs to take advantage of the tech companies in America, Google, Visa, Facebook, and all that. So that because the young people in Kenya, the appetite for technology is very huge. We need to find a ways where we can satisfy that appetite, monetize whatever they are doing, and be able to contribute to the economic well-being. So I think it's important that we go to this relationship knowing that we are better placed in terms of our understanding of who we are, our self-worth as a country or as a continent.
And we're going to be looking at that because I'm quite sure each and every country will be there saying this is what we have. Look at the country like DRC, a lot of minerals, but unfortunately civil war, corruption has watered down everything. To you, Philemon, I remember the day before yesterday during the Jamhuri Day celebrations, they were themed on technology and innovation, and the head of state really re-emphasized on how the young people in the country need to take up that space. And now we have the Africa-US Summit. This is one of the platforms that Kenyans should be equally seizing to ensure that we move in the right direction and actualize that, the innovation and the technology.
The technology in Kenya, as an engineer said, has grown over time. If you see what the president even is doing in the US and what is said on during the Jamhuri Day and the Innovation Week, you come to understand that many of the tech companies that we need to use to monetize the content that we create here are all based in the US. One is Twitter, number 2 is Facebook, number 3 is TikTok. TikTok has become one of the most famous social media platforms, more so very popular with the young generation. So going to the West now, I think that is what we need from them. West is one, what America will help us as Africa and Kenya is the market. Market for what we produce, the content we produce, the agricultural produce that we do. So in terms of technological advancement, we will measure more on how they are advanced in the US. But I feel there is still more to do with China and the Asian countries. There is more of infrastructure. If you see China and these other Asian countries, they are more specialized in infrastructural development and how fast they grow in. But the other side of America and the West are so much into tech industry, agriculture, and energy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Engineer, we if Joe Biden's President USA word is anything to go by, that they are looking at an idea of having an African country, even if it's one, having a permanent seat at the UN Security Council. And tie that with we as Africans, the 54 countries in Africa. Why wouldn't we have done it in one voice, go there as AU? Because I'm quite sure, engineer, a lot of presidents will be saying, we have this, can we do this, we have this. We are not speaking as a united voice, that as Africa Union, this is A, B, C, D, this is what we want. Because at the end of the day, we are also equal players, not quite equal, but we are also players that need also to be recognized. And our input is as well, because if USA is looking for Africa, then it means that there's something they need here. It's not only things that they are going to be bringing to us or making our things better. It shows that we are partners, but we are not going there as one voice. Each country is going to be negotiating its deals.
If you look at Africa, we are 20% of the world population. India, another 20%. China, another 20%. And the rest of the world takes 40%. At the Security Council, only China is having a permanent seat. Out of the rest of the 60% of the world, only China has one seat. Then the rest of the 4 seats are occupied by countries we could say are the 40%. So the positions at the Security Council are not fairly distributed in terms of the population. Then you look at the issues of security. Where are they most suffering from? The Middle East has been one of the most challenging environment in terms of security for the last 10 years. We have here in East Africa, Somalia, and the DRC, South Sudan. Now Ethiopia is also having some challenges. Mozambique, recently we have seen some elements of insecurity. West Africa has been predominantly an area where we have had problems of security. West Africa and Central Africa. And therefore it's a good thing that now Africa needs to come together and speak as one voice and say, if we are 20% of the world population, then we have a right to have our own position. So that the issues of security, we can have one voice to speak about. Unfortunately, because of the colonial history, Africa is still divided. We are still divided between the French colonized countries, the English-speaking countries, and maybe some elements of Portuguese. That division is a problem. But who has brought this division? The people still who occupy the Security Council, because they use that insecurity to exploit our resources. The problem in Mali, Niger, Cote d'Ivoire are not just our own. They are a problem created by the West because they want to exploit the resources in Africa. Ivory Coast is a country where 70% of the chocolate is produced. But who makes the most chocolate from that chocolate is Belgium. In DRC, we have a lot of minerals, gold, cobalt, where the issue of renewable energy in terms of battery power, telephone, mobile phones, resources that are required there. They're coming from there. But who makes the most out of that? The companies in America, in Silicon Valley and China. So our problems of security are not of our own. They are created by other forces out there so that they can take advantage of our resources. The day we will wake up and realize that is the true facts, and we come together, then we will be able to liberate ourselves. Unfortunately, our politics also is the Western democracy kind of, where they choose for us who will be president. They control our election process. They manipulate the opposition, and they are able to have a hand in terms of our governance, and they are able to control us from wherever they are in the West and manipulate the leadership we have so they can continue exploiting us. So as a continent, and especially the young people, we need to really have a conversation. The young people need to start having to speak to each other. Whether in Nigeria, you are in Kenya, you are in Uganda, we need to talk to each other so that when that time comes, we are in a position of leadership. We will be able to know when the Western world is coming to manipulate the kind of leadership we shall offer, so that one day we'll be able to have our own kind of democracy, our own kind of politics, and we'll be able to position ourselves and say, this is the position of Africa, and this is the way we are going to move forward.
Indeed. Remember, Jamhuri Day celebrations, innovation is the predominant for the next couple of weeks, because we also have Nairobi Festival. And the president is in the United States, and I'm quite sure he's going to be given an opportunity either to present or to talk about what he would, or what Africa and Kenya has to offer in terms of youth. What do you think that the president should put emphasis on as we wind up?
What the president should put focus on, one, is our agricultural produce. Now we have direct flights from Kenya to US. Number two is the bottlenecks in getting a visa. Getting a visa to the US is a tough process. That's one thing the president should check. Number three is the tech, how to monetize the content we create. We have good content in Kenya. The best content creators are here in Kenya, more so in social media, as I've said before, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. The last thing is about employment. We have to produce. The president should sell our employment, our labor to the US market. Those are some of the things that I feel the president should.
Indeed, and engineer, as we wind up, Kenya has been hailed as one of the countries that the economy is supported by the labor force, because we have the zeal, we have the knowledge, looking at the East and Central Africa region. But as we wind up, what are some of the emphases? He has touched a number of things that the president should touch on, of which a lot is touching on the youth. What are some of the other things that the head of state should be keen on to look at as we wind up?
One of the areas that we really need not to forget is the issue of security. Remember, we still have our men and women in Somalia. We have now sent a new team to DRC Congo. Those are security issues that affect Africa and affect us directly. So as much as we may want to send our people to work in America, we also want the ones we live here to remain in peace. We don't want them to feel threatened. We've seen Al-Shabaab continuously attacking. Today we have seen some security alerts going around in terms of the risk of having attacks over Christmas. So I need to see a conversation between William Ruto and Joe Biden on how we can continuously share intelligence, share technology, share our military men and women in terms of supporting each other to fight terrorism. But I also want to add on the issue of work. We know now Kenyans can work remotely, meaning that a Kenyan can work from here and provide services to an American company. One of the challenges that was identified during the Innovation Week was that Kenya is still not mapped as one of those countries where they can recruit a certain quality level of kind of workforce, and therefore we need the government of Kenya to look at those areas where we need to improve, so that Kenya can qualify to be an attractive location for recruitment for workers for American companies in terms of outsourcing services. Whether they may go to work there is not very important, but they can be able to work from here but still earn from remittances from America. That would be a very great thing, because if they're able to work from here and they're able to make money from here, the Kenyan government also will be able to tax them directly, and they will contribute directly to our economy. So those are some of the areas we need to see a strengthening of partnership. But lastly is also the issue of these tech companies making money from Kenya but not paying taxes. Google, Meta, Twitter, TikTok, they are making a lot of money, but this money, the taxes they pay are to American companies, Canadian companies, Ireland and Europe. We need to see some of these companies, the monetization domiciled here in Kenya, so that Kenyan government can also be able to tax those companies that are making money from Kenyan's content.
Indeed. Thank you so much, and also thanks to Faith Cecile on who's watching. Don't say where you're watching us from, but you say in the Sell to Us packet. It's some minutes ago, so in regards on what we were discussing earlier on, the Sell to Us packet at 240. I don't support it. Anthony Morira, you say you are watching. Eli Shuke, you say farmers are holding the maize. They are the holding, waiting for the price of the maize to spike. I suggest the government to start distributing the imported maize to the market. Wow, this is quite something. Farmers have started holding meat. A new crop of interested in pasture commissioners is what we want. Sure, we need a clean commission. Next year we'll see a whole electoral commission, as it will have new commissioners only. Noah Jumak, Cecile Diane, Nyagesa Vini, Wanjao George are some of the sentiments that I'm able to sample. Thank you indeed so much for watching us. This has been News Check. Thank you so much for watching. We have engineer Crispus Wathimba, and also we had Philemon, who is a youth leader. We are now giving rise of the baton to the Swahili desk for Kurunzi Mashinani and Tamrini. Thank you so much for watching. Let's continue this conversation on social media.